I love what you're saying here, though, and you're applying it towards the pros. You're applying it obviously as a pro mindset coach, but we're a college podcast here, and the same things that you're talking about the NFL. How many the resources to go and bring these guys in, guys bust. Well, that stuff happens all the time here at the college level too. JoJo, I think what he was a 3-star, right? He's not a 4-star. He wasn't a 5-star. Well, I've always had issue with star systems to begin with. Number one, but we get 4 stars and 5 stars that bust out too. So what are some of the things, if you were talking to Coach Frost and the staff, if you were talking to college staffs instead of pro staffs, how do you apply your message instead of being a pro mindset coach to being a college mindset coach? Because I want less bust right now in Lincoln. I'm selfish Husker fan. How does it work at that level?
Not only does it work at that level, but it works in corporations, it works everywhere. These things are universal principles. But with respect to an identity, a lot of people have conditional belief. That means so think about all the young men that show up at University of Nebraska to play football. Almost every one of them is the best athlete on the field in every game they play in their last year in high school. Now, if they go to Northwestern, one of those schools down in South Florida, there might be 22 guys going to college. But in most cases, they're the dude. So what happens is when they show up at Memorial Stadium and they go out, they show up in the weight room, they show up in the Hawks Center, they find out everybody else is good too. So then they start wondering, they got their heads spinning. Hey, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Maybe this guy's better than me. Maybe the thing that the coaches promised me when I came here isn't going to come true. So they're dealing with all these. It's basically the song that we sing to ourselves. It's the story we tell ourselves. We don't know the story that a young man's going to be telling himself when he shows up in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the reason why is because the circumstances are different than what they were in high school. And so kind of moving forward to answer your question, I would want to know the level of passion they have for the game. A lot of guys want to be recruited. That's why on Twitter they say, hey, I'm blessed to have another D1 offer from so-and-so university. That's the world they're living in, not in the weight room, not working with the speed coach, not working with the position coach, not learning more about the X's and O's of ball. They're becoming social media stars. So
and NIL allows you to be in a perpetual series of being recruited anymore. I mean, now you can, in transfer portal, you could be recruited for 4 years.
It never ends. And all the players going to do is have a blockbuster freshman year and walk into the head coach and say, hey, I'm thinking about hitting the portal. And bada boom, they're calling the collective guy and saying, hey, do you got some more cash for this guy? We got to keep this guy.
Well, technically, they're not calling him because they can't have any association with the collective in the state of Nebraska. So we don't want to accuse anybody of doing anything like that. But I guess since we're talking about the portal, one of the things I'm curious about too, and Honky and I talked about it before the show, was how is NIL affecting the ability for these players to speak with agents prior to, prior to now that they're being in college, right? There was a question that was asked. So does that change the rules with you as an agent and being able to have contact with these players, or is there, how does that work?
The way it works is that nothing's changed in terms of communication. We could talk to kids in the 3rd grade, just couldn't give them anything of value, and they can't sign any documents with us. Okay. So those rules haven't changed, but here's what has changed. Now parents and players want to talk to people in our business because we have contacts with marketing companies that can put money in their pockets. Okay. I really feel like the landscape of college sports, especially college football, has changed so much because of the portal and because of NIL that it's worse than pro football. It's worse than professional sports.
There's no regulation right now.
There's no regulation. There's no governing bodies that have, promulgated rules that go, hey, bro, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. It is the wild, wild west right now. Okay. So if you're a college football coach, you go see this guy 10 times and you bring him on campus 2 or 3 times and he commits to you and he signs a letter of intent. He shows up on campus and then you got to keep recruiting them. And you got to keep them happy. And that's why a lot of the narrative that coaches spew out in their interviews is hedging their bets. They're not committing. You know, I'm not saying, Rob, you're the dude. No, I'm getting both you guys are still in competition. But really behind the scenes, Rob, you're the dude. Okay? Because they got to keep mom and dad happy from calling up the coach and saying, hey, I thought my kid was going to be the starter. Okay? So the bottom line is, in the pro football, you sign 4 years. Yeah, you can hold out. But the NFL has all these ways to get your money back, take money out of your pocket in the form of fines. In college football, you think you're getting a kid for 3 or 4 or 5 years? You're getting him for maybe 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the transfer portal gives them the free, at least the one free transfer, so you can be gone at any point before you even had a chance to play. I see so many correlations between the college and the pro game right now with things you've talked about. You bring in the pro guy that doesn't have the right mindset, and all the pressure in the world that he's going to be the savior of some team, and then he busts out, right? Well, right now we have the same thing with transfer portals. We're bringing in a kid that, whatever it is, quarterback, you name the position, this is going to be the savior, right? Well, what if he's not? Or what if he still needs to compete, right? He still needs to win the position. There's other guys that want that spot too. If it was a year ago and we brought in the top hybrid safety outside linebacker in the transfer portal to come here, JoJo's not just going to sit there and go, oh, well, you're the top guy in the portal. Here's the position. No, he's going to. That's his spot. You're not going to take that from me, right? And I mean, that's where we're at with every position right now, every group. But you see the same things. It's the same phrases that college fans say that pro fans say when it comes down to this guy's going to be the savior. This guy's going to come in and fix it. This guy is that. And I'm believing in this mindset thing, because if you don't have the right mindset coming into this, if you don't understand what Nebraska is like from the fishbowl, if you're a player that hasn't been in an environment like Nebraska, which is different from other schools, I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball before you even put on the pads for the first time.